Hi everyone, this is a little edit before we actually start the video. We are having the most fun, wonderful videos in the entire world for our big 4th of July sale week. So look for it on Facebook, on YouTube, all over. We are going to be having furniture, we have notions, we have Bernina. I know there are some celebrities that are coming in for this and they'll be at different times during the days. So I hope you'll watch us and look for these sales. The biggest sale of the year for Linda Z's is on the 4th of July, the 4th of July weekend. And on the 4th of July itself, I'll be walking around, or somebody will with a camera, and I'll be talking about all the different sales that are out there. You'll see the hot dogs we're going to be having, and we're just going to have fun. So join us. Hello, everyone. It's Linda from Linda Z's in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and my grandson Nicola, who is here filming with us today. We are going to celebrate the 4th of July a little bit early, but not too early. We want you to have a couple of really fun things. Many of you, I think, know that the 4th of July for 50 some years, I won't say how many plus 50 because it's getting up there now, we have been celebrating our largest sale of the year on the 4th of July. We have a little tradition at Linda Z's where we do hot dogs and brats and chips and all kinds of things. And for the very first time ever last year, we could not have it. We just, unfortunately with COVID coming up, I'm sure there were a lot of firsts for many people, but we still had our 4th of July sale. This year, normally what we do, we have it and we line up, everybody lines up in the parking lot about 6:30 in the morning and then come in and have fun and get some great bargains, and then they go to the parade. Well, this year it's on a Sunday. We're still going to have our hot dogs. We've actually catered them in. Some of you know that we have the staff, my husband, everybody comes out. They put their chef's hat on and they just have a lot of fun. So I hope this will inspire you to think about what you're going to do for your 4th of July. And let's do a couple of sewing projects that'll make it even more fun. What I have put here today is a project with a couple of hand towels that I think are really fun. You could put it on a tablecloth too. It would also be really fun. And I've used the OESD Spree Club. Now, they make this, if you've ever seen this, I just love this. I think it's just such a great idea. They take, and I know, Nick, you can get it in on a closer shot. They take these designs and they actually take a recipe and then they stitch it up. We stitch it out, and then it shows you the ingredients and how to put it together: potato salad, deviled eggs. Oh, there's a whole group of them in there. And I stitched these out because I wanted to give you a couple of little tips on what to do. One of the things that I want to go into before I actually show you how to do this is some of the products that you will need. And behind me, I want you to look at this gorgeous quilt. I think it's just beautiful. Sue Ellen did it. She's one of our wonderful quilting instructors. It's a Quilts of Valor. So I don't know if I can find the label on the back here. Sometimes we put them on. Oh, no, it's here. And you see they have it labeled Quilt of Valor, awarded to, the date, and piece by, and of course Sue Ellen has got her name on here. It's beautifully, very simple, but it will really go to a special person, and the family hands them down, so they're really, really special memory quilts. The other thing that I've got back here are, of course, some wonderful patriotic fabrics that I think are fun. I have a whole selection of patriotic masks, even though we're wonderfully don't have to wear masks anymore in Illinois, but we still do wear them if there's anybody has a cold, or, if you're around somebody and you're in close proximity for a long period of time. So the patriotic masks are always really fun to do. Then I also have on my Laura Star ironing board, and I want to stress, when you're doing anything with quilting or embroidery, that this is a wonderful, wonderful iron, because you can take it. People will say to me, but I can't use a Laura Star because I can't use steam. Absolutely not. You can turn the steam off on this. There's a boiler here in the back, and you can just turn it off so you never have to use the steam, or you can use it when you need it which you do need when you're using a nice little tea towel like this. But these are two. This is one that I used a lot, the square one, and I believe it is, I think it's on our website. Yeah, it's like 15 by 15. It's just a real nice big square one. And when you want to, press your towel on a, one of your felt pads, this is just wonderful. And let me see if you've been paying attention in all of these videos. If I ask you a question, I'm going to listen to see if you got the right answer. How do you press the towel? What side do you put down first when you're doing the embroidery of a towel or even a quilt block? You're right. You put down the right side facing the felt pad, and that will let that embroidery kind of sink into the pad. And when you do the pressing, which is up and down and up and down, and especially with this wonderful Laura Star, and it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a quilt block, I do not use steam. It depends if I'm, if I don't want to misshape the block. But if I'm using a towel or a tablecloth or whatever, I always do use a steam. This is one of the ones that we see often. This should be in your stash. This is an 18 by 12, and this I could not live without, but I use this quite often, and it's really kind of a fun one, so I thought I would show it to you. Now, people have asked many times, I know I forget sometimes, to tell you what I did with what I'm wearing. And this, of course, is our 4th of July, because when we do our 4th of July celebration, everybody wears red, white, and blue. And this one is done on a Bernina, my Bernina 880 Plus. And what I did, I designed my own design on the shirt. I took one of these pinwheels, which was just one design, and then I just repeated it and repeated it and repeated it. And I got 4 of them, and I put them into a little circle, and boom, I have my own design. It looks kind of like a one of the fireworks. And then I put the little glitz, the Swarovski crystals on, and you just have a fun design that you've created yourself that you're not going to see walking, everybody that walks by. So I hope that gives you a little bit of inspiration to get started. I'm going to talk about the threads that I use. I think everybody has been asking me, and I love your comments, guys, and I see it in the store. I hear people talking to me about it. I'm trying to give you an idea of why to use these different threads and what the weights are. We talked in one of our prior videos about the Floriani. You know how I love it. I think they're great. I did use the Floriani on this baby lock. And you can see that I have this design, the one that I did, the potato salad. I love the way they've got this design on here, and then they have it first place in the recipe. And of course you could, with your own lettering in here, could put your own ingredients in your own recipe, but this is just a fun one. And what I did with this, and I think, Nick, can you get that up pretty close? Yeah. You seeing it? Okay. I've got a bigger hoop like this. This is like an 8 by 14. And you can see I purchase myself 2 hoops, always. Anytime that I have an embroidery machine, I don't care which one it would be, whether it's a 3600 Brother or a Bernino 880 Plus, their largest or mega hoop, I always order 2 of them. And the reason I do that, while my one design is sewing, I can always be hooping up my second design, because the key to making this design, and let's see, I don't know if the camera's right here, can you see it? The key to making that design, you see there's absolutely no puckering whatsoever. And this is a very thin fabric. And the key to that is I'm using the right stabilizer. And so I take time when I'm doing the hooping, and I'll show you that in a moment. But I want to show you something that's really fun. When I put this stick into there's a USB holder on the side here. Now this happens to be a 10 needle. I'm sure many of you have a single needle at home, and you have a USB port. If you don't, you need to upgrade, because let's face it, this is not going anywhere. We are definitely going to be having USB sticks for the long time here, and that's how you're going to be keeping your designs in your memory. So I put this happens to be, if you're a Spree Club member for OESD, this happens to be one of theirs from June 2018. They have a great one from 2021 also, but I just happen to have this, and I thought, oh, it'd really be fun to show it. So there is a specific design for this, and we'll have it on our website because you can order it alone if you weren't a Spree Club member at that point. But what a Spree Club member gets is everything. So you can see this is the one of the designs is called the 4th of July. And I've already loaded it in there. But if I put this towel in, and I'm going to pull it here, Nick, I don't know if they can see this now. Now, do you see if I put it in like this, what would happen? Can they see this? Okay. Do you see how this extra towel is bunching up in the back? So wouldn't it be much easier to do the design like this with the towel hanging down in the front? Now, how do I get that to happen? If I put that on like this, what's going to happen? It's going to sew it towards the back. And I don't want that to happen. I want us to sew it the other way around. So in order to do that, all I have to do, let me click this on here so you can see. This is really easy to get on. You can hear it click in. There is a nice little table that we can, this is the Valiant. You could put that table right under there and it would hold it nice and firm. But I want to demonstrate this for you, how easy this is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and rotate it, and I'll go once. Well, I don't want it to go to the side, so I'm going to do it a second time. And now look what happened. It's sewing it with the top at the middle of the towel, and the bottom of the design is right at the bottom of the towel. And that's where I would want it to be. So this is a wonderful thing if you've got that on your machine. If you don't have the rotation on it, then you've got to be very careful when you go to put that back on, because it could easily get caught into the design. And I'm going to show you some bloopers later that I think you're going to really love. So I hope that helps a little bit. Now, let's take this back, and I'm going to show you, before I show you the bloopers, I want to show you the real way to do this. And what I'm showing you on this is the stabilizer that I'm using, because again, I told you that that's the key thing. Now, on this particular towel, I used two kinds. I wanted to show you the differences. On this one I have to look at it to actually tell, because there's no right or wrong. When you get into really tiny stitching like this, you can see this is very, very small stitching, and it's very easy to see it. So when you get into real tiny stitches like this, where they're really, really small, you can see they've even done the stitching line in between. Some people like to go in there and cut those little lines. If you do, I'm going to show you a technique you can do. But first, before you do that, let's get into the stabilizer. This particular one was done with the, not the water solvent, this one, with the Heat and Stay tearaway. And I think most of you have heard me talk about this many, many times, that when you're doing a woven fabric, you don't want to use just tearaway. If that's all you have at home, you're going to have a little bit of trouble, because fabrics can move, they can shift, especially on the bias. So it's really important that you're fusing. The rule of thumb in stabilizer, no matter what stabilizer you have or what fabric you have, is you always want to stabilize it as much as possible so you won't have any movement or stretch. And this water-soluble, it's called Heat and Stay Tearaway Stabilizer, is just a wonderful one for woven fabric. And that's what I put on the one with the blue bottom. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a red bottom, but the pink would have to do. There's some pink in here too. And on the pink one, I used what we called Stitch and Wash, and it's fusible. The Stitch and Wash is always used, or quite often is used, for designs that have very open designs. And you can see, of course, in this, with all this lettering, that the open design is really important. So I use both of them. They're the same type of towels, and actually I had really good results with either one. So whichever one you happen to have. I really like this Heat and Stay tearaway, but I also do like the Stitch and Wash tearaway. It's a fusible, and the reason I like it, it just comes off. It's got a little fuzziness to it. It's softer, and it does wash away in the washing machines. There might be a little bit of residue left when you first take it off, whereas when you take this off, this is more like a tearaway, and it comes off cleaner. So it's whatever look that you're looking for, but both of them will create absolutely no puckering. Now, what's the last thing that we do when we go to do the stitching? We always want to use what? I think you guys know, water-soluble topper. And you can take a sponge and just cut a piece that's, you don't need to do the whole thing because this is just going on the top. And put a little stick of water here, 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 just in a few places. So it's covering that design. Now, this is not a thick towel. If it were a heavy terry cloth towel, see all these designs, I don't know, Nick, if they have the, do you have the camera on all of this here? Okay, well, in a moment, we'll go back to that, and then I want them to see that because the types of towels and the types of fabrics that I'm using for this, they are not thick, heavy terry towels. And when you're using a thick, heavy terry towel, you would not use the water soluble, you'd use a heat and gone. But this one is the heat, this one is the water soluble topper for any of these. They're dish quality fabrics. They're wonderful for hand towels, for drying dishes, for handing out, putting around when you're cooking and you want to dry your hands on something. And heavens knows we're all used to doing a lot of hand washing. So these are great towels for that. Water soluble topper. Now, there's another technique that's very important. I already have the water soluble on here, so I can take that off. I'm actually going to move this away, but can they see that? Did they get a real good up close view of this one? Because I think it's really, really kind of cool with the potato salad thing. I'm going to show you something that I think is really great, and that's because this lettering is so fine, and you will see that even on the ingredients, you'll be able to read it very easily. But I used a very thin thread. I think most of you know the higher the number, the finer the thread. Well, Floriani, or Quilter Select as they call it, it's still from the Floriani company, is a very thin embroidery thread. It's actually an 80 weight thread. And it works, it's not the deviled eggs because the deviled eggs was done with this 40 weight thread. But the ingredients and the instructions were done with the 80 weight thread. Now, what are we going to do for the bottom? This is a if you want the same color to be on the bottom, you would have to change your bobbin more frequently every time you change your color. I did not do that. On mine, what I did is I used just the plain white, which is the right weight of thread. And I figured the color doesn't really matter on the wrong side, but if it does to you, then you can absolutely get the same weight of thread in colored bobbins. The great part about this weight is that normally we have a much heavier thread, even though it's a light thread. It's a 40 weight thread normally for embroidery, which is what this is. And we use the 60 or finer 70 or 80 weight bobbin thread, depending if they're pre-wound or not on the bobbin. On these, this is 80 weight on the top, and if you're using the same color on the bobbin, this is 80 weight too, and it'll be fine. It's really, really something that you want to test out to see how great it is. You'll see that that thread will go right to the bottom, and they'll meet right at the edge, and it'll just be a beautiful type of embroidery. So I hope that helps you a little. I know it's confusing about threads, especially now I'm introducing a new one to you. But when you do this fine lettering, I love this 80 weight thread. It's just fabulous because you start to get into this real heavier embroidery design thread, like I've done on the design of the deviled eggs. You could do it in here, but it's not going to give you the definition that you would need by looking at the towel. You want to really see that recipe, and by doing this lighter weight thread, the 80 weight thread, it will give you that look. Now, another thing that I'd like to explain, I touched on it briefly. There's two little scissors that I recommend, and I don't know, Nick, if we can get those up close. I'll put them right here on the towel. You want me to turn it anywhere? Okay. All right. This has got a little tiny curve, and this has got kind of a swooping design with the scissor. And both of these scissors are a must for any embroiderer. And what I want to do, look at this, starts out with a initial here. And say I wanted to cut these threads in between. You see how easy that was? I can just clip it and it's gone. And this is just a really nice thread to do that. Or this one with the little curve, you can go in here and I just clipped it real easy and now it's gone. Just a very, very easy scissor to use when you're doing that kind of work. Now I also have my, I couldn't bring all my scissors up, but I kind of like Mary, one of our managers, she just loves it. Every time there's a new scissor that comes out, she grabs it. I've got the red, white, and blue here. We have a bunch of Ginger scissors. If you're gonna buy scissors, buy a good Ginger one. It'll be there forever. I have the red, white, and blue that I bought about 3 years ago, and you can't get them anymore. There is a new one coming out in August that's a multicolor. Put your order in. I would strongly recommend it. Okay, I think I've covered that. I want to show you the 3 little bobbin things that you've seen in the past that are red, white, and blue colors, which are fun. But I also want to show you this. Now, this I have done in a prior video. And if you go back to, oh, Nick, I don't know, you have to help me. It's sometime back in, it was at, yes, it was at my house during COVID. And I did the little, so it probably was like in May or April of 2020. And yes, and these were all really fun designs. This is a little, the paper plates, of course, but this was a really fun little bowl design that's real easy to do. But these little coasters I thought were just so fun. You can put an initial on them. And I know we have a couple of these left. These were a John Deere adorable ideas, and they don't look like anything on the design, but aren't they fun when you see like T for Tracy, D for David, a star, and then you hand them their coaster and they've got their drink or whatever it is, and they know what drink they are on. So that's, you can go back and look at it. I love these little, and I will be doing something with these. These are the Kimberbell colors. She just comes out with just some wonderful, wonderful colors. That's it, except the bloopers I want to show you. Now, why did I say to put it like this? This is the right way, because like I said, we wanted the towel hanging down. But what if I put the towel hanging the other way, like this, and the edge right here? Do you see what can happen? And I wanted to bring this out to show you because I thought it was really key. And even though I knew this, what I do a lot with a 10 needle, it's just so accurate. I thread it all up with the right threads, and then I walk away. And I wait for that little signal. I might be in the kitchen cooking or finishing another design somewhere else. And what's so great is that I don't have to look at it. But because I didn't look at it, I didn't see that I hadn't taped the edge of this up, and I had put it the face down instead of turning it and rotating it. So of course we cut the fabric. Now I could have ripped that out right away, but I wanted to show you because I thought it was really fun to see. Now, what other kind of bloopers can happen when you're doing embroidery? And I think it's really key. Well, doesn't this look wonderful? But what's wrong? Anybody tell? Look at the edge. Now it's on white, and you might think, oh, isn't that look nice that that raw edge is turned to the front? But this is actually done on what? The inside. Can you see? So this can happen very, very easily, especially when you're doing it on a white color. or a color that there's no change on either side. So really watch when you're hooping your fabric. Another blooper that one of our staff told me about that she's had happen quite often is she's forgot to look at which side of the towel that she is using. She just puts it on the hoop, and then what can happen? You can put the tag side on the front, and you don't want that to happen. This is done correctly as far as the tag goes, but it's done on the wrong side. See, this is your right side. And it could happen where I could have actually done it on the tag side too. So there's a lot of little things you have to watch for when you are doing embroidery that will, and if it happens to you, just chalk it up to a learning experience because it really is a learning experience. And you want to have fun with this. You don't want to have to be all concerned about what's going on. So guys, have a wonderful holiday 4th of July. I hope you're going to have lots of hot dogs and deviled eggs, and what else do we have? Potato salad here, and just enjoy it. And we hope you'll see us at Linda's Ease. Thanks, everyone.